This episode of Moist Meter brought to you by Godslap Issue 2. Go to godslapbook.com to order your copy now.
Initiating moisture.
For years now, I've been like Ebenezer Scrooge when it comes to the first Avatar film. I've been a very harsh critic of it. It's the highest grossing film of all time, but I always feel like most people don't remember that much about it. Like, a lot of people probably couldn't even tell you the name of the species on Pandora. Like, I watched it and I thought it was a technological marvel, but everything outside of that was a little lackluster. Like, the actual meat of the movie wasn't all that tasty. And I rewatched it recently, and I still feel largely the same. The visuals hold up incredibly well. They have aged amazingly. It's still breathtaking. But again, my feelings were pretty much the same now, 13 years later. So going into Avatar: Way of the Water, I was coming in with pretty mild expectations. I expected it to be visually great, but nothing groundbreaking, because most movies have reached this plateau when it comes to visual effects. Like, they all just kind of look very good now. I didn't think Way of the Water would be able to somehow break through yet again and make a technological achievement, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Way of the Water blew me away. I came in with lukewarm expectations, that it slapped those expectations right out of the park. But particularly when it comes to the visuals, I don't know how, but James Cameron has done it again. This movie is nuts. Like, the visuals are unreal. Somehow he has once again created a technological masterpiece, and I don't really get how he was able to accomplish that. Every scene in this film is gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous. I didn't even mind some of the cliche filler shit that they did, where they just like show some pretty stuff where a character's like holding some glowing organism in their hand and spinning it around underwater. Because everything looks so goddamn realistic in the movie, I felt like I was watching a miracle unfold before me. So I absolutely crushed it in the visual effects, but this time around I genuinely feel like he delivered a much better overall experience. Now, the plot is once again extremely simple. The first Avatar had a very simple plot: protect the forest. This one has an equally simple plot: protect your family and the sea. So Jake Sully's now got a family. He's got a lot of kids now, and I really thought they were going to drop the ball here and flounder because they have so many characters they've introduced now because he's got a lot of kids. But somehow they actually do a good job of making you care about their fate, their outcome, where they're going to end up. Since he's already made the statement that this is only the second out of 5 movies coming, you now know that it's setting up for a lot going forward. And when I had first read that James Cameron, being the madman that he is, filmed the second, third, and fourth like all simultaneously, I was really concerned this film was going to be just all filler, like a Naruto filler arc where you watch it but it doesn't deliver anything substantial at all. It's just like setting up for future movies. But I'm happy to say that wasn't the case at all. Of course, everything clearly is setting up for the future, but it does so in a meaningful journey, not one that's just there setting up the pieces. It's not just a film introducing a ton of loose ends to wrap up later. It does a good job of being all self-contained in and of itself. So I really did appreciate that. I'm not going to get into spoilers, so a couple of my complaints I'm not going to be able to talk about directly, but I will say that they introduce a new character. He's in the trailer. His name's Spider. He's a human that's been raised by the Na'vi, and I actually don't think he's a good character at all right now. And not because I think the actor's bad or anything, or I think the concept of the character's bad. It's because I feel like they didn't really make his motivations as a character clear. Because Spider, for some reason, goes back and forth on sometimes he's helping the good guys, sometimes he's helping the bad guys, and then sometimes it doesn't really feel like he gives a fuck that much about the situations that are going on around him. Like, it's just, he just keeps flip-flopping, and thus it makes his character a little confusing. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to do with the overall story down the line, but in this one, it was just a little bit of a head-scratcher, like, what does he actually want? What is he actually doing? But aside from him being rather weak, all of the other characters they introduce, I actually think they do a good job of fleshing out with the time they're given here. It's a 3-hour movie, but somehow it felt like an hour. Like, it really felt fast. Like, it didn't feel drawn out. Like, I actually felt like, you know, things were happening super quickly towards the end. The last hour of this film is absolutely amazing. The last hour is just non-stop, full-throttle action with, like, really interesting choreography that goes on that just keeps amping up in the insanity and the lunacy of what's happening, and it's beautiful. Like, I love the last hour of this film. But even the 2 hours that precede it, which, of course are going to lead up to that final confrontation, are still interesting. Unlike the first film, like when you go back to the humans with Jake Sully and everyone, like those moments I felt were boring. In here with Way of the Water, when you have those slower moments where they're learning to ride and learning to breathe longer underwater, they're not boring. Like, I actually got invested, and things happen in there, like getting attacked by giant fucking sea monsters and shit. Like, there are still things that happen in there that make it interesting and keep you on edge wondering, okay, how is this going to play a role down the line? And all of it just works together pretty well. Not 100% of the time, though. There's definitely a bit of fat that could have been trimmed off of a couple of scenes that dragged on a little too long. Without getting into the weeds of it, I won't go into spoilers, but there are definitely moments where it's like, this is overstayed its welcome a little bit. I think we can move on to the next thing. And another thing that kind of stood out to me that I wasn't too big of a fan of is Jake Sully as a character had a bit of a shift in this film compared to the first one, in both a positive and negative way. But overall, I feel like some of the decisions he makes were fucking stupid. Like, really dumb. And it's hard to get into those specifically without spoiling, but I will say he's a lot more cowardly in this film. Now, of course, that could be because now he has a family, so he has something to lose. He's not just, like, a loner or anything like that. But, like, he is completely controlled by fear for a large part of this movie, which leads to him being, like, a super hard ass with his kids pretty often, even in times where it doesn't make sense to be, like, an asshole. Like, he's very strict, especially with one of his sons, but in a way that sometimes just doesn't really make sense. Like, he's just being a dick for no reason. So there were just a couple of eyebrow-raising moments for me when it came to Jake's character and the way he interacted with his family from time to time, as well as some of his decisions, but it wasn't, like, bad, and I think by the end of the film he's in a really, like, strong spot as a character, but yeah, there was some bumps along that road. Overall, though, I really did enjoy this a lot, and especially the soundtrack. Of course, the soundtrack I expected to be pretty good, and it was stellar here, obviously. Another mention I'd like to make here, in Way of Water, Neytiri doesn't have nearly as big a role as she did in the first film, which of course you couldn't expect her to with how many characters have now entered the fold, but she got sidelined, like, pretty hard in this one. At least until the end. The end, she is fucking amazing. Like, I can't get into it because it'll absolutely be a spoiler, but up until the end, Neytiri just didn't play a crucial role in the film, I feel. And then all at once at the end, she really shines. Yeah, so plugging Avatar Way of Water into the moist meter, I'm gonna give it a pretty nice, clean 80%. I really did enjoy it. A lot of the complaints that I do have are complaints that I can't get into specifically here because I'm not trying to spoil it, and I really do recommend checking it out. Even if you didn't like the first one, I actually think this one has a much better chance of winning you over and selling you on the Avatar universe, because this does everything the first one aimed to do better. I never thought I'd watch a 3-hour film and ask for more immediately after, but I really am extremely excited to see the third one now. And it really did feel like it went by super quick. Like, I still can't even believe that was 3 hours. Because, like, the entire last hour is just an absolute nonstop ride of action, which was great. And he didn't pull any punches. James Cameron went whole hog. Fucking have limbs flying off of people and shit. Like, it went hard. So, I really did enjoy it. I think it was much better than the first one. A couple of hiccups here and there, but overall, I had a great time watching it. That's about it. Godslap is a comic book series we've been working on for a couple of years now. It's a hyper-violent, over-the-top sci-fi story about the beauty and destruction that slaps can cause. Issue 2 is out right now. It'd make a wonderful Christmas gift, so make sure to check it out at godslapbook.com. Right now we also have 3 variant covers that are in stock, but the second those sell out, those variant covers will never be restocked, so definitely make sure to pick up a copy today.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Dune. I'll be honest and upfront right away. I've never read the books, so I don't know anything about the Dune lore. But I did see the 80s movie when I was a kid, and I don't remember fuck all about it. I just remember those giant worms. So when the new Dune movie was announced, I wasn't exactly pumping my fist like, yeah, more worms, let's go baby. You know, I wasn't going wild, but the trailer looked very cool and was enough to capture my attention and make me pretty excited. And I'm happy to say, god damn, this movie is really pretty. Like, visuals in this movie are on another level. Like, shit. And it has Hans Zimmer complimenting the visuals. So when you're watching this movie, you're getting like this goddamn euphoric sensation. It's like a Redditor who found atheism. Like you just go into like a whole nother state. It's like, Jesus Christ, I didn't even know movies could look this good. On a visual and audio level, it's a goddamn masterpiece. It's 2.5 hours and every single scene is beautiful. So yeah, definite 10 out of 10 from the visuals and soundtrack department. I hope your eyes are ready to come. Now let's move on to the narrative. So this is supposed to be a franchise starter. This is part 1 of hopefully 2. And with that in mind, I think it's great. If we never see a part 2, goddamn, then this movie serves no purpose. That's my biggest complaint. This movie feels like it is only the very beginning. There's no like conclusion, it ends abruptly. There's no depth to some of the characters. They just kind of go off screen and then you don't see them again for the rest of the movie because it's only part 1. I imagine they'll be more important in part 2 and you'll get more depth to them. So with that in mind, I'm excited for part 2, but if we don't get a part 2, then everything in part 1 is completely just worthless. Like I said, there's no conclusion or closure. It just goes, it goes, it goes, full throttle, nuts to butts, and then all of a sudden, bang, we're pulling out. And then you would expect the next episode to start and pick up where we left off, only that next episode isn't confirmed yet. So it's a movie that solely exists to set the stage for the next movie, which is fine because it does a great job of that, and I'm super excited. But it's a little worrisome that the second one isn't confirmed yet, because if it doesn't ever come out, then this movie doesn't really have a reason to exist, because the movie is all foreplay, just getting you sweaty and ready to finish in the sequel. In other franchises, the first part that puts it all in motion feels like a complete package sometimes, where it's like, okay, I got an entire experience out of that, and it set the stage going forward. Dune is not like that. It's not like a standard 3-act movie. There is no Act 1, 2, and 3 in Dune. It is all just Act 1. And when it ends, it starts to show you what Act 2 is going to pick up on. Take, for example, Infinity War. Infinity War gives you like a climactic fight between the Avengers and Thanos, and then it has a conclusion that ends on a cliffhanger, and you immediately know that it's going to be picked up on with the follow-up movie. Dune doesn't have that. There isn't like a climactic battle where the main character's fighting off against the main evil or anything. There's no big climactic moment that you engage on and then have like a cliffhanger. You're just going about like this entire intro and then it just ends. And you don't even know if there's going to be a sequel to pick up on it where you reach the climax and everything. Like I said, it all just feels like just Act 1. It's an incomplete story and you can feel that, which is fine if there is a part 2. So you don't really get like a full satisfactory experience out of it, but you know that there's more to it. And that's what makes me excited for a sequel, if there is one. But if there isn't, then this movie doesn't really give you a whole lot other than just a visual spectacle, which is fine too, because like I said, it is truly beautiful. I think the narrative is great. They feed you so much information so quickly that it can be confusing sometimes, but it eventually started to piece everything together. I got a little bit lost in the sauce with all the visions that Paul was having, but the actor playing Paul, Timothy, last name, I can't pronounce his last name, but Timothy fucking killed it as Paul. Everyone did a great job in the movie, and I was really invested in the story. Like, they introduce all these politics, they show you how the world works, introducing the spice and how important that is. Just a really fucking cool setup, and the way that I feel about this movie is going to be entirely dependent on if there is a second part ever made. Because if there isn't, then I'm probably not going to look back super fondly on this movie other than just the boners that I popped while looking at it because it's so beautiful. And that'll be about it. But if there is an Act 2 and they land it like they did with this one, this is going to be one of the best fucking 2 sci-fi movies I've ever seen, because I fucking loved it. I really did. I just feel like it's a little hard to really say like this is a fucking masterpiece when it just doesn't feel complete, because it's obviously just setting itself up for more. So if the more doesn't come, this all just doesn't work super well. But I really liked it. And just to give you a further example of what I mean, one of the main characters that's advertised in all of the trailers for this film is only in the last 15 minutes of the movie. They're hinted at throughout some visions, but they're only actually in the movie in the last 15 minutes. That's when they're introduced. Obviously, they're going to be more important in the next one because they're a very important character. But yeah, that's really my only complaint, and it's only a complaint because the second movie isn't confirmed. If the second movie was confirmed, then I'd be wiggling my finger up here like, okay, can't wait for more. But the fact that that's up in the air is a little scary for, like, this movie. Because this movie only works if there is a second one to follow it up. Because this is all just, like, blue balls, and it needs the second one. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's a really enjoyable movie. I had a lot of fun watching it. I would like to point out two other things that I thought were very silly. The fucking shields in this movie are worthless. This isn't a spoiler or anything, but the characters have shields, right? Like, all the warriors and everything, they activate a shield, and it's supposed to be, like, good defense. But I swear to God, it's like they're wearing paper. It does nothing. It doesn't stop knives. It doesn't stop, like, it doesn't even stop, like, fucking someone flicking water on them. It doesn't do anything. The shields don't do shit. They'd be better off being naked. It's terrible. I don't even know why I have the shields in the first place. There isn't a single scene in this movie where a shield saves someone. There is one scene, and I had to make note of it, where a shield does help a ship once because it gets hit by debris, and the shield blocks it a little bit, so then the ship only starts spinning. But that is the only time a shield is ever useful here. Every other character, when they're stabbed, it just goes straight through, like butter. It almost makes it easier for them to get stabbed, it seems. So yeah, the shield's silly, and there's a lot of cheese to the movie, at least in a couple of places. Like, the dialogue's really well done, the writing's great, but there's like a couple of cheesy moments where, you know, when they land on Arrakis, a dude with bagpipes just comes out of the ship to introduce the higher-ups. It's like, hey, these guys are really important. Check out the bagpipe guy, the dedicated galactic bagpiper. So he just comes out of the ship ripping on the bagpipes. And it's like, oh, that's a little odd. But yeah, I mean, it's not like a complaint. I just wanted to point out those two things, like, that was a bit strange. But yeah, anyway, let's plug Dune into the moist meter. I'm giving it a 90%. I really did like it. Now, obviously, I won't feel that way about the movie if it turns out Warner Bros. Puts the kibosh on the whole thing and just says, bah humbug, there'll never be a Dune 2. Then obviously that would change how I feel about this movie because it's an incomplete story and you can really feel that. So it's entirely hinging on if there's a second movie to complete the story. They do a great job of setting everything up. I had a lot of fun watching it. It is so beautiful. I can't stress that enough. And Hans Zimmer, per usual, crushes it on the score. It sounds so good. Like, it's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. That's about it. So yeah. Well, this will be an easy and quick moist meter. Dune Part 2. It's good. Really good. All of my minor complaints about Part 1 completely fixed in Part 2. I know a lot of people didn't like Part 1 for one simple fact. It was slow, and it felt like it was only ever building and never quite reaching what it was building to. And I get that. It kept serving you really tasty appetizers, but never giving you that main course because it's set up for further movies to explore that and conclude it. So I do get that that can be a little underwhelming, and I've never really minded a slow burn type story, so I was never put off by the pacing of the first one, per se. But I do understand that some people kind of viewed it as a bit of a snooze fest, like they sat there watching Dune, and it was like listen to Jigglypuff's song and they just fell asleep. Well, I don't think you'll be having that problem with the sequel here. You'll probably just be shoving that fucking popcorn in your face. You paid for the whole seat, but you only need the edge, because Part 2 has a lot going on all the time. I loved Part 1 for the narrative and its characters, and there were great fight scenes and some impressive visuals, of course, but what really sold me on Dune was the world and the way that it was crafting its story. It also helped that the characters were really well written, so I cared about them pretty quickly. And in Part 2, I care about them even more, and they're even more fleshed out, because obviously they have even more time with them, and the writing is still super tight. Part 2, though, blesses us with some incredible action sequences that are visually stunning and just some beautiful scenes. By far, my favorite sequence in this film is when we're getting to know the Harkonnens. There is, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, there is a new Harkonnen coming into his own here in a big way, taking on a large role in the story, and in order to really introduce him and hype him up to the entire universe, they have this gladiatorial show match where he just goes in there, takes a couple scalps, nuts to butts, cleaves some people to pieces, and everyone pumps their fists, yeah, way to fucking murder him, yeehaw, woohoo, that kind of stuff. It's rigged. So the combatants that he's fighting are supposed to be drugged so he can just easily dispatch them. Basically just farming low elo here. And what ends up happening is, well, one of the combatants, a familiar face, is not drugged, and it leads to a really interesting fight. But it's not even so much that, it's the way that this scene is portrayed. It's pretty much all black and white, and it looks so cool. Like, it looks amazing. So seeing a full fight go on in that style was really interesting. And I don't know why I feel like pointing this out, but for some reason I got very strong Final Fantasy X vibes, like with Blitzball, where like all these fireworks and shit are going off celebrating. But in Dune Part 2, those fireworks are, again, just black and white. So basically it's like giant fucking ink blotches just exploding in the sky. And they kind of linger there for a little bit, making like this pseudo Rorschach in the sky. It's just really a very, very creative style that I loved to watch. And there's quite a few scenes that have very interesting visuals to them. Obviously, you know it's going to be extremely impressive given the budget of the film and given how beautiful the first one was. But I was really blown away by the visuals in Part 2. Even better, somehow. And again, like I said, this one has a lot more action to it, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are bored by it. Because like I said, I know a lot of people said they were bored with Part 1. I don't envision that being the case with this. I think it's exciting, the story is gripping, it's visually fucking astonishing. I just really think Dune Part 2 is the complete package. Oh, it also sounds great, the music in here slaps. Nothing but boner jams out the wazoo. The love story they tell isn't cringe or anything, it's handled really well, it's very interesting. The coming of age story of Paul Atreides, destined to be this extremely important leader that he needs to become, I think is done very well. Like, I just thought this movie fucking slapped. Now, I don't think it's perfect. I would like to talk about a couple complaints. A few of them that I have are spoiler territory, so I'm not going to get into spoilers, but one thing that I think this movie suffers from is just having so much that sometimes things get lost on screen. So, this isn't a spoiler. Paul Atreides, he gets a little bit of future sight. You know, this guy, he can see some shit before it happens. And since he can do that, it leads to a lot of his decision-making being a question mark to the viewers sometimes, and you just have to accept that he's doing this because he can see the future, so this must be the only way. But that's a little jarring, because some of the decisions that get made are like, it seems kind of out of character a little bit. Like, that's quite a contrast to the scene we just saw you in before. Like, sometimes it feels like things come out of nowhere. Occasionally, shit just happens, and there's no full-blown explanation for why some things happen. Now, maybe Part 3 dives into them a bit deeper to explain a couple of the things I'm talking about, but for now, you just have to accept, shit happens. And that brings me to another one of my complaints, where some very important character deaths I feel were kind of underwhelming. I don't think they were handled as well as I think they should have been. I'm talking very important characters getting killed, and it's just kind of like this afterthought. It's like they get killed by a single move, and they barely fight back at all, really. Like they were just waiting to die and didn't really care, you know, just like, I'm just gonna AFK real quick and let you just fucking annihilate me. It's like, kind of sucks, because this is a character it's kind of a big character, I would think, and that's how they're going to be sent off. That just felt a little unfortunate, because I thought there could have been more to do there. Now, keep in mind, I haven't read the books, and as I understand it, the movies don't adapt everything one-to-one, but they do a really good job of it in most people's perspectives. But if I had to guess, I imagine the characters that perish in this movie don't die the same way in the book. Basically like, hey, I'm out. You ready to kill me? Alright, cool. Can you do it quickly? Alright, cool. Bang. I'm out, ski. It just feels underwhelming with a couple of those moments, but it's not enough to like actually be a detriment to the film overall. It's so good. I really, really enjoyed Dune Part 2. I think it's extraordinary. So plugging Dune Part 2 into the moist meter, I'm just going to give it a comfortable 95%. I am super invested in the conclusion to the story. There is a Part 3 coming. It doesn't wrap up in this one, so I'm once again just biting my fucking nails waiting to see how this story wraps itself up. So I can't wait for Part 3, and I think they crushed it with this film. That's about it. So yeah. Just kidding, asshole. You got pranked. classic. I can't believe you fell for it, you fool. There is one more thing I wanted to mention before closing it out. I really think every single actor in here is putting on their A game. They brought the special sauce here because everyone does a great job, and you can really feel like they wanted this to be special. So, what I mean by that is, every character feels real, and that helps sell you on the scale of the conflict as well as just the importance of every single thing that happens and the character relationships being meaningful. So, like, Timothy and Zendaya, like, they really do have, like, great chemistry on screen, so it doesn't feel like it's anything forced or anything. Like, the love story hits. It feels good to watch that blossom, and it goes in very interesting directions. And the new big bad guy that has a very nefarious and evil aura about him is super over-the-top evil, but not to the point where it becomes cartoonish. He's played by Austin Butler, and he'll just murder people for fun. Like, if he just gets, like, a weird look from someone, it's fucking slitting their throat just because of it, or, like, peeling their scalp off because why not? And sometimes that just gets comical because of how over the top it is, but not here. It feels menacing because Austin Butler goes hog wild with it and really commits to it and makes it menacing. And that's true for every character that gets introduced here and every character in the world. It just really seems so real because of how much effort they put into their performances, and I just had to point that out. I just had to mention that. So yeah, now that's about it. See ya.
Moist Meter was brought to you by Amazon Music. Sign up for free below using our referral code.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Free Guy, the new Jacksepticeye film. Jacksepticeye was able to get some big stars attached to this project, such as Ryan Reynolds and Pokimane, and I think it's a really fun concept that was executed really well. Now, setting aside my jealousy and envy of Jacksepticeye, I found this movie very entertaining. I was on board right away with the concept. It focuses on an online video game like GTA Online, but without the 12-year-olds telling you they fucked your mom or screaming for you to follow their TikToks and shit like that. It's this GTA-style game, fucking chaos, pandemonium, you know, death, guns, titties, all, you know, going wild out there. And then there's one NPC who over time starts to get bored and begins to become sentient. And then he becomes this badass on the game and then a badass in the real world because people are taking notice. And then it starts to get into some real world repercussions and some things that happen outside of the game. And all of them I think are explored really well. And I think the main thing that you need to accept going into this movie is there's going to be moments that'll make you feel a little weird. You know, there's those classic gamer-isms in here. I heard the word noob 4 times in this movie, and that's the first time I heard the word noob since 2009. So that was both nostalgic and sent me down like a fucking PTSD Winter Soldier episode. So yeah, just make sure you go in there with an open mind and open cheeks and just let it ass blast you with a little bit of fun, out-of-touch gamer shit. You know, you'll have a YouTuber or a streamer, maybe Ninja is even in this movie, don't want to spoil anything, but maybe Ninja says something like, he's pwning, he's an NPC and he's pwning. Might be in there, you know, not to give anything away. But I think that it doesn't take away from the movie when there's obvious parts where someone who wrote it has never heard of a video game in their life. There's nothing wrong with that, because overall I think they nail the theme and they really capture what they wanted to here. It's just a fun, feel-good movie. Ryan Reynolds, of course, is playing Ryan Reynolds as he has for the last few years, and I love that. I like Ryan Reynolds. It's really hard not to like Ryan Reynolds. I just really enjoy Ryan Reynolds' work. It still puts a big smile on my face, a big goofy grin every time I'm listening to Ryan Reynolds crack some jokes. I think he's just really enjoyable to watch, and that is the case for this movie as well. I would be fucking disappointed if I went to a movie that had Ryan Reynolds' name on it and he wasn't playing himself. If they had him like dressed up in a costume like he's playing Captain Ahab or something with some, you know, actual serious role, I'd be upset. I'd be mad at Ryan. I'd be like, what the fuck is this? You've wasted my time here. You're not Ryan Reynolds, you're Captain Ahab now. You know, like, I wouldn't like that. So I like that he just keeps playing himself, because I think that's a really fun character to watch on screen. It's great. And it was the case here for sure. I enjoyed most things about this movie. I don't really have any complaints. I think there's a lot of moments in this where it's like, oh, that's doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. but it doesn't need to either in order to get the point across. There's no reason to come in here and start poking holes into the Free Guy condom, because it's not trying to be more than just a fun, feel-good movie, which I think it absolutely nails. But I will say there are a couple parts of this movie where it actually seems like fanfic, like a wet dream that a gamer would have back in 2010. A big plot point is a particular stream. I'm not getting into spoilers. But at one point in this movie, every single human being on the planet is tuning into a stream of this game and something going on in the game. And that was a little wild to me. Like, even the news, every news channel they're flipping through, it's like, in Free City, the video game online, you can see blue shirt guy taking a shit. This is incredible. Like, for some reason, this video game is so popular that everyone in the world is watching it on their phones at all times or playing it themselves. That's not like a complaint or anything. Obviously, it's not going for like a super realistic movie or something, but it was kind of wacky to see. Nothing wrong with that. Anyway, it's a fun movie. I think the humor lands a lot. Not every joke is a gut buster, you know, I mean, it's not going to be a side splitter every moment, but I think it does comedy very well here. I think Ryan Reynolds always nails the comedic aspects of his film. And I think the main things that it wanted to do, it accomplished. It's a fun movie. It's engaging. When there is action in the video game world, I think it's done really well. The action's super cool. It blends like modern gameplay stuff with just shooting with like some old school stuff. So you'll see some Easter eggs from beloved games and properties like the portal gun. I'm pretty sure that was in the trailers, so that's not a spoiler. So you'll see things from other games that'll make you point at the screen and go like, I know where that's from. And then they'll use it in a cool way. So it's just a fun movie. No real complaints from me. I don't think it's like a must-see or anything, but I think it is just an enjoyable, fun, adventure, comedy, action movie. Plugging it into the Moist Meter, I'm giving Free Guy a nice, clean 85%. That's about it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm not well liked in the Godzilla fan club. A lot of people that are fans of Godzilla wouldn't spit in my mouth if I was dying of thirst in the desert. It's because I didn't like the last Godzilla movie. I was very harsh on it, and they didn't take too kindly to that. After a lot of angry emails and comments, I get the impression that they absolutely hate me and view me the same way that people view shit stains on a public toilet with disgust. But maybe I can win over their good graces this time, because Godzilla vs. Kong fucking slaps. This movie is a significant step up from the last one in my opinion. Everything that I didn't really like about the last Godzilla movie is fixed in this one and done extraordinarily well. Honestly, it feels like the director watched the Moist Meter and then said, fuck you Charlie, watch this, and now I'm sucking his dick about it. Every complaint that I really had about the last one, I don't have about this one. The only lingering complaint that I, and probably everyone that watches this movie, will have is the human plotline. Again, Godzilla fans lose their fucking mind if you even mention humans in their movies, but when at least half of the movie, or sometimes over half of the movie, follows humans, you have to at least talk about it. The human plotline isn't very good. At least one part of it. There is a new character introduced here where she's able to communicate with Kong, which adds a lot to the film. I really enjoyed like the main human plotline, which is that girl as well as a couple of others going on a journey with Kong. So Kong becomes a central part to the story, which I think was fantastic. You get to go on this adventure with Kong and with this emotional attachment where this character is a friend of Kong and they actually communicate with each other. I thought it was a great change and I thought it was wonderful. But then there's another human plotline which follows Millie Bobby Brown and a couple of others as they go through like this conspiracy journey and eventually end up, you know, uncovering some secrets. And when it's following them, the movie's kind of dull. It's not bad because I think the characters are still decent and they crack some decent jokes, but it's not really what you're there for, and it's pretty lacking. And now that I've talked about humans, we can talk about what actually matters in the movie, which is the fucking monsters, the titans. Kong vs. Godzilla, I think, delivers the best action of any kaiju film I've seen. The entire second half of this movie is pretty much full throttle, nuts to butts, big fucking monsters smashing meat against each other for like 45 straight minutes. It is wonderful. absolutely wonderful. And it doesn't cut any corners. It doesn't give you any, like, disorienting angles or, like, make it pitch black so you can't see anything except some, like, fucking flashing colors. You get to see everything. King Kong's like a well-trained martial artist in some of the fights. He fucking does, like, a Superman punch where he jumps off of a building and delivers an absolute clobbering blow to Godzilla. It's so good. It's so good. The fights in this movie are fucking fantastic, and there's a lot of them. And I am, jubilation is the best word to describe it. This is exactly what I wanted from a giant monster movie. And I got it. I got more than I expected. And the movie is paced so well, so you're never spending too much time with the humans that you really don't give a fuck about. You're constantly going from like, okay, here's some humans and this is what they're trying to do. Okay, now that you have that, let's get to the fun shit. And then you get into the fun shit, which is great. Like, the movie really seems to know that people are watching it for the Titans, instead of, like, some kind of, you know, pretentious human plot line about, you know, the power of humanity to rise up above any challenge or whatever message they try to deliver. They don't do that. They give you the bare bones motivations for characters, minimal development, and then just let you have that, and then go right into the fun shit. Like I said, the only real human character that most people I feel are going to care about is the girl that's able to communicate with Kong, because that bridges the gap between the humans and the Titans, and it's touching. It's well done. But other than that, you just want to get away from the humans and more into the Titan stuff. And it's not just Kong fighting Godzilla. There's other appearances of other monsters, so you get to see other, you know, fucking guts and shit flying all over the place with them battling other creatures. So, I mean, there's just so much to like about the movie. If you're going into it expecting something like big and profound about, you know, humanity's ability to adapt to a new predator or whatever, you're watching this movie for the wrong reasons. You should go in here with the expectation of, I'm gonna watch two fucking giant monsters fight, and you are going to be extremely satisfied. It is really impressive. Visually, the movie is beautiful. There's no, like, jankiness to it. The fights are super fluid and they never like stop. It's not like there's one punch thrown by Kong and one slap thrown by Godzilla and then all of a sudden they separate and they stay like that for 30-40 seconds or anything like that. It's just constant fighting. Like, there's never any downtime when there's a fight, which I really appreciated. They didn't take any easy way outs, no shortcuts. You just get some high octane giant monster fighting. I'm super happy with how the movie turned out. I was going in there with pretty low expectations since I didn't really like the last one, but I'm beyond pleased. Pleasantly surprised with how good it was. Plugging Godzilla vs. Kong into the moist meter, I'm giving it an 85%. I hope at some point, maybe when they have the human plotline, they can make all of it good as opposed to just a few things. But I think they're taking steps in the right direction. I didn't think anything the humans did in the last movie was good. Here, at least, there's definitely improvements there. And that's the only thing it's lacking on. It is nailing everything else about, you know, Titan combat. It is absolutely fucking crushing it in that department. But since at least half of the movie is following humans, you need to at least make sure that that's brought up a little bit more to be able to be, you know, something even more incredible. But as it is, I think the movie's really good, it's really fun, and I think that's all it wanted to be, was just a fucking fun movie, and it nails it. If you're using the internet without a VPN, you're using the internet wrong. VPNs are a necessity these days, so I'm going to recommend Surfshark, as I have over the last few months. Surfshark is a wonderful VPN, and there's just no reason to just be sharing your data with everyone so willy-nilly. VPNs help keep your data private. Surfshark VPN comes with a beautiful set of robust tools to choose from, such as Whitelister, which allows specific apps and websites to bypass the VPN, which helps with mobile banking. There's also a kill switch, which is like a safety net in case the VPN connection drops. Your activities and sensitive data never get exposed. Private DNS and leak protection, so it allows you to keep everything private, so that way, again, you're not sharing all of your stuff. You can hide your IP. There's just so much that Surfshark offers. It's a fantastic VPN. So if you're interested in trying Surfshark, you can go to the link in the description below to get 83% off a 2-year plan with 3 extra months for free. Or you can go to surfshark.deal/penguin and use code penguin to get 83% off a 2-year plan with 3 extra months for free. So definitely give it a try if you're interested. And again, VPNs are super important. So yeah, that's about it. So yeah. Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Godzilla x Kong New Empire. I was a big fan of Godzilla vs. Kong, and as all of you know, 2023's movie of the year for me was Godzilla -1, so I've become a huge Godzilla enthusiast recently. There have been bangers in the Godzilla franchise, so I had very high expectations of this film going into it. And I'm gonna be honest, It's a bit of a mixed bag. I had a lot of fun with the movie, but it's undeniably a step down from Godzilla vs. Kong, at least in my opinion, which makes it undeniable. So, I think the action in here is the best Kong action we've seen. King Kong is by far the star of the show. It's mainly a movie about Kong. Godzilla is more of just a cameo that appears every now and then. He's like a raid boss that pops up occasionally. His screen time is reserved to him just basically one-shotting some other titans. So he's on screen, he just bops one titan, kills him and absorbs some radiation. He's literally One Punch Man as a kaiju. He then bops another titan, Tiamat, absorbs some radiation, then you don't see him again for like 45 minutes. Then he has a huge role to play at the very end, but it's mainly a movie that focuses on Kong. And I don't mind that at all. They did a really good job with King Kong. There's a super impressive like 20-25 minute scene without any dialogue at all, and it's Kong interacting with others in Hollow Earth. Others of his kind, and without a single word being spoken, it's able to convey the entire story of what's happening, with Kong finally realizing he's not alone. It's actually a really, really great scene, but I also like the scene that precedes it, when Kong first realizes there's other great apes like him. He gets ambushed, like a little tiny great ape, a child, a toddler, comes at him, and like bites his finger, and he's like, damn, ouch! And then like he gets jumped by 3 other great apes, so he takes the little toddler and starts using him as like a baseball bat and slapping him around with the little guy, and then he throws the little guy away, like actually just potato sacks him, throws him away like a trash bag, and then ends up befriending and becoming like a pseudo father figure to that little great ape. And that's when he stumbles upon like the entire society of them. And that's when that scene happens that I'm talking about. That's like 20 minutes of showcasing that their leader is pure evil. There's a lot of bad stuff going on there. And you really get a lot of story just through their expressions and what you're seeing without any dialogue. And I thought they did a great job with that. But I want to change gears real quick here and talk about the humans, because unfortunately you have to talk about those cringe meat sacks that appear in these movies. Godzilla Minus One is still to date the only kaiju movie I think that does a human storyline super well. This movie has to have the stupidest plot I've seen in quite some time. I don't like to get into spoilers when doing moist meters here, so I'm going to do my best to tiptoe around some of this, because I don't want to ruin it, but I have to give you some examples of the absolute fucking lunacy here from plot points. So there's a scene where King Kong gets frostbite, and the humans see this, and it's very emotional. It's like, oh no, that doesn't look good, he's hurt. And then one of them goes, Eureka! I've got it. Doc, do you remember the Powerhouse project that the government cut funding to? And she's like, the Powerhouse? You can't mean... Yes. And they're like, what is a Powerhouse project? It was a project where we were going to make Titans stronger, with augmentations. What do you mean augmentations? I'll show you. And he's like, it's luckily one of the prototypes got shipped out to Hollow Earth before the government pulled the funding. So the prototype is 500 feet away from where King Kong just collapsed. I'll go grab it. And the next scene is he goes to the armory that has the Powerhouse prototype, and he literally fucking airdrops a Power Glove, a Nintendo Power Glove, onto King Kong's arm, which immediately like autopilots onto it, and it also came with an anti-frostbite serum. I shit you not. An anti-frostbite serum, because I guess they knew this day was coming. They knew he'd suffer from frostbite eventually. So they made him the Infinity Gauntlet, and he wears it for the rest of the movie. Don't get me wrong, it's super fucking cool that King Kong starts walking around with a Robo-Fisto. But also, if you really stop to break it down, that is so nonsensical. Why? What are the odds? Like, that's crazy. I mean, good on them for seeing such a crazy sequence of events happening with him getting frostbite on his hand and also collapsing pretty close to the armory so he could go grab it real quick for him. It's it's dumb things like that. Like, it's fun dumb. And I think it's self-aware in its stupidity, because a scene that comes pretty shortly after that is a whole series of outlandish shit that I probably can't spoil, but it revolves around a psychic child who has this mission where they're basically the chosen one out of the Jedi prophecy, but instead of like a high midichlorian count, they're like super psychic and can summon a monster that will help them. And after all of this stuff is happening, Also, there's a whole society of human beings that communicate with each other telepathically, so most of their scenes just revolve around them standing still, looking into each other's eyes, and then going away because they quantumly beamed all the information they needed to at each other. But I'm already getting lost explaining this kind of shit. But anyway, after a lot of stuff like that happens, the same guy who brought the power glove is like, you know what, while we're just throwing weird shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, I've got a plan. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go try something. So then he disappears, and he comes back as like a fucking rodeo master with a bunch of birds shooting electricity, lightning bolts from behind him. Like, and he just goes, yeah, my plan is so much weirder than what you think it's going to be. He disappears, vanishes, and somehow pulls off that maneuver. Again, it's super fun, just really dumb. I wouldn't be surprised to learn the writers were smoking crack and for the last 30 minutes just told all of the actors to improvise and they'll just wing it. That's what it feels like. It felt like they had no idea where they were writing the humans or what the humans' role in here was even supposed to be. So they just did like a Ghost Stories dub where they just came in there and just got really wacky with it. They're just like, fine, fucking throw it in there, why not? It just doesn't really make any sense where the human plot goes. But again, that's not why you're going to see Godzilla, Kong, New Empire. No one cares about the human side. It's just something that takes up a lot of screen time. It's filler. It's literally the vegetables before you get the dessert, which is the kaiju fighting action. But I just had to mention it because it does take up a large chunk of screen time. They devote a lot of time to it, and it is something special. Hooey! I gotta also mention the dialogue, because the lines here, it's written like a Saturday morning cartoon from the early 90s. Like that Powerhouse Project scene, that's pretty much exactly how it plays out. The Powerhouse Project, the one that had the government funding cut to it because it was making Titans too strong and they weren't really on board with that, the one that also happens to be 500 feet away, you can't possibly be referring to that for your plan. Yes, indeed, that is the exact same Powerhouse Project I am referring to. That's how half of the human conversations go. Like, it's super unrealistic. Honestly, towards the end of the movie, I was half expecting Godzilla to start talking. I thought we'd have ourselves like a Transformers Optimus Prime moment. Sam Witwicky, fetch me a jar of peanut butter and a condom. I'm going to Hollow Earth. But anyway, enough dwelling on that. The important part of the movie is all of the giant monster fighting is superb. Except for the ones where Godzilla just immediately kills them. I would have liked to see that a little bit more. It's just kind of underwhelming to have Godzilla come in here and one-shot some cool titans like Tiamat. I thought would have been a really cool fight to see, but it ends in 30 seconds. But King Kong is the star of the show. He's the one that does the bulk of the fighting, and his fights are exhilarating. There's even a scene where he like throws up a set where he was ready to like actually unleash martial arts or something for a second there. It's just really cool. And it looks great visually. It, of course, looks great. It's a big budget film. Though, as I understand it, this actually has the lowest budget out of the MonsterVerse, from what I can tell. Doesn't feel like it, though. It still looks great. Except for a couple of the human scenes, because they take place in, like, a crystal domain expansion. And you can tell it's the most obvious green screen ever at some points. But aside from those instances, which is, again, a human problem, a human complaint, everything around the monsters looks great. All the fighting looks good. There's a monster that I'm quite a big fan of that made a surprise appearance in here that I didn't know was going to be here, so that was a lot of fun for me as a fan of that particular kaiju in the Godzilla franchise. I just had a big old smile on my face. There's a fucking scene where Godzilla suplexes King Kong. Like, how can you not like that? There's also a scene where King Kong and Godzilla are forming like this crazy team up, and they do like some kind of fucking Brawlhalla 2v2 combo, where they're like literally juggling their enemy together back and forth, beating their ass. It's so cool. So yeah, anyway, the thing that actually matters in Godzilla, Kong, New Empire, which is the monster fighting, is amazing. And if you can just go ahead and ignore the outrageous, ridiculous, silly, stupid human storyline and narrative that they build around it, then you're gonna have yourself a great time. So, plugging Godzilla, Kong, New Empire into the moist meter, I'm gonna give it a comfortable 70%. That feels right to me. I would have liked to see more scenes like the one I mentioned where it was no dialogue at all, just Kong interacting with all of the other great apes around him, and it telling a very compelling story. I could immediately tell what Kong was feeling and all of the other characters and immediately getting their motivations and what was going on there. It was super cool. I would like to see more of that. And, of course, more fighting, even though there's a lot of fighting here, but you can never get enough. But, anyway, I thought it was good, I enjoyed it. That's really about it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
When the Aladdin trailer dropped, the entire internet, myself included, took a fat shit in their nostalgia pants. They were disgusted with what they've done to the movie, and they were all saying how awful it was going to be. I admit I was one of those people. I just saw Aladdin, and it wasn't nearly as bad as the trailers made it out to be, nor was it as bad as I expected it to be. It was a good movie, albeit a movie that did not need to get made, nor did it add anything to the Aladdin legacy or anything like that. The movie on its own would be a pretty damn good movie if Aladdin didn't exist already, because it is not as good as the cartoon in any way, in any department. Now, the big thing everyone hated about Aladdin was Will Smith as the genie. He looked like shit. He did not look like the genie. He looked like really bad CGI from a weird moment in Power Rangers. It just didn't work. He did not work as a blue genie. However, in the movie, it does. He does a decent job. The blue genie still doesn't look good. It still looks like ass. It looks like a fucking cardboard cutout that's animatronic. It looks bad. It looks like a really low budget CGI blue genie for Will Smith. I didn't care for that. But when he wasn't the blue genie, when he was just Will Smith as the genie being himself, he was a good character. In fact, he's probably the best character in the entire movie. And that's not to say that when he's a blue genie it's shit, because those songs, those moments when he is the genie, the bluest cosmic powerful genie there is, those songs and those moments are the best part of the movie. This movie is lacking enthusiasm, it's lacking energy that the original had, because you can't translate a lot of what made the original so special and powerful into something live action. It just doesn't work. Take, for example, Jafar, who is the weakest part of this movie. In the original Aladdin, he is outstanding, and everything about him is cool, scary, intimidating. He's a great character. In this movie, he's a joke. He's like a fucking cringy edgelord bad guy. It's awful. He's not a good character, and I don't think it's the actor's fault or anything. It's just you can't translate that kind of character one-to-one in this movie. For example, he's carrying a fucking snake staff the entire movie. That's goofy. That's not scary. That's not imposing. That's not cool. It's goofy. That's like something a 4-year-old would think would be awesome for a Halloween costume. It doesn't work. In the cartoon it does. The movie a lot doesn't. You can't have that kind of energy for the musicals, like, for example, The Prince of Ababwa. You can't have that kind of incredible musical performance like in the original in this live action. For example, when they say, strong as 10 regular men, it's just Will Smith saying that line. However, in the original cartoon, you got like fucking 10 men flexing and shit, and it's really cool to look at, and it's a really quick moment, and it's really nice. Everything in the original is just done much better than this live action. It was never going to live up to that. Now, Will Smith doesn't even come close to Robin Williams. He never had a chance. There was never any possibility where that came to unfold. However, he does a good job, and like I said, he's my favorite character and probably just all around the best character in the movie. When it's not Will Smith in the scene is boring. The scene has really weak dialogue with almost no energy. It's delivered by like a high school thespian group. It just doesn't go over well. It's not because the actors aren't talented. Whoever plays Jasmine, Naomi Scott, she does a great job. It's just the writing and the characters you can't take from Aladdin, the cartoon, to Aladdin with real people. It just doesn't work. It doesn't feel right. And I feel like the director just didn't understand how to keep that enthusiasm and energy. And it's a shame. It's not a bad movie by any means. It's good, but it's a movie that's only going to get compared to the original, and that really brings it down. I don't think anyone's going to walk away blown away. Some people will probably be satisfied, like, yeah, it wasn't a waste of my time. I'm one of those people. It was alright. But it didn't need to be made. It didn't do anything. It was useless, and it just was weaker than the original, as it was always going to be. So I don't see the point in making this movie or why it exists, but fuck it, it's out there now. Putting this shit on the moist meter, I'm giving Aladdin live action a 65%. It's cute, wholesome, visuals are good. I forgot to mention that. The visuals and the costuming I thought were really good, albeit some of it better than other points. There's some weak CGI moments like the genie, as well as some background shit. But overall, it's pretty beautiful, honestly, as you would expect from something as big budget as this. But again, useless, didn't need to exist, not a bad movie, not nearly as good as the original. Big kudos to Will Smith, though, for actually doing a great performance. Quite the fucking plot twist. I don't think anyone's going to expect him to actually be good in the role, but he does a really good job. No Robin Williams, but not too bad. That's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
This is a big moment for the Moist Meter, where I come out here and eat some shit and say I was wrong. When I first saw the previews for Alita Battle Angel, I wrote it off immediately. I wasn't very interested in the movie. I thought it was going to be pretty boring and not very good. And then it rolls around to releasing, and I go in there with no expectations, and I was blown away. I just got home, and I wanted to immediately make this Moist Meter to say how fucking wrong I was about this. This is the biggest surprise I've ever had when going into a movie with expectations this low and seeing just how good the product was. I'm having a hard time putting it into words, but my dick was just fucking throbbing this entire movie. It was such an incredible film. I can't recommend it enough. This is the most anime shit I've ever seen on the big screen. This is more anime than the Dragon Ball Super movie that just came out. This movie fucking blows that out of the water. This movie is so goddamn entertaining. I'm gonna go ahead and get the things that I didn't care for out of the way right now so I can continue to just gush in one straight urine stream of compliments. Acting, some characters just totally fall flat. There are some mediocre characters at best in here, and some pretty stilted dialogue, and you're gonna recognize that for sure. A lot of people probably won't care for the main character design. The big eyes will probably turn a lot of people off, and a lot of people are already turned off by it. For me personally, I think it worked well with the character, and it was done well. Another big con that I would point out is maybe the story's pretty cliche for a lot of people, and maybe it is a bit oversimplified, and it also really strives to set itself up for more in the universe, which I like, but it does feel like it kind of focuses too hard on setting up these things that'll play into movies later down the line, assuming this movie does well, which I really hope it does, because this movie deserves it. This is the most visually beautiful movie, well, tied for the most visually beautiful movie I've ever seen, tied with Blade Runner 2049. That is great company to be in. I just hope it does better financially than Blade Runner 2049. But one more con about this movie until I get into all the pros. The main villain, I think, is a little weak, and it's probably just because they didn't really explore him that well, and it seems like his motivation is just the most comically ridiculous cartoon supervillain. I am evil because I want to be evil. That's about as deep as they got into his motives for everything that he does and everything that happens here, so that's pretty fucking weak in my opinion. But now to the pros, which are, there's many. This, like I said, is genuinely beautiful to look at, but the action and the way it's presented is like nothing I've ever seen before. The choreography here is beautiful with moves I couldn't even fucking imagine that makes kung fu movies look like amateurs. It's so flashy, and it feels like so impactful. Every haymaker Alita throws, it feels like that would break some bones, fuck shit up, cause some explosions. Every scissor kick, extremo mode, turbo mode kick that she throws feels like it would just slap the fucking head off a rhinoceros. And it's coupled with this great sound design that sound like you just listen to Godzilla get the shit kicked out of him, or a giant transformer get just brutalized. Oh my god, and the character design in this movie is amazing. You'll have some like generic looking robot cyborg characters looking like fucking Chappie on his day off, and then you'll have these like crazy intricately designed cyborgs that kind of blur the line between human and machine that just look so badass. Just so incredibly fucking cool. If you've seen Red Line, which is that poster I have behind me, it looks like some of the characters look like Machine Head from that movie, which is a very big positive because I think that's great character design. Every character in this movie that isn't just like a normal human looks fantastic and is so fucking cool with these great weapons. There's a like fucking extendo go-go gadget claws that shoot out and just eviscerate opponents, and they have this incredibly fun sport, and that's something that I want to talk about. This shit is so like early 90s Extreme Zone that the movie has this like brutal sport that is played for entertainment that used to be a common thing with, like, you know, Spy Kids goes extreme in the video game world. They have this sport called motorball, which is a death match where you have a ball that you score in a hoop and you try and kill your opponent before they score the ball in the hoop. And that, every single time that was on, was so fucking cool. And they have these beautiful fucking weapons. This movie, I could gush about this shit for so long. I've never left the movie theater as excited as I was about this one, because like I said, it sets up a sequel and I really hope to see more from it. But man, it was so fucking good. It was really good, really good. Can't recommend it enough. I could go on and on and on, but the biggest takeaway is that it is a genuinely beautiful movie to look at. It seems like the budget was massive. I read that at one point it was like $200 million, but it got stuck in a development hell. So I don't know what the budget actually was, but it seems like it was a huge budget movie, and I really, really hope that it turns a profit because it deserves it. Absolutely stunning. And whoever choreographed the action and whoever fucking framed the action and came up with the way they present it needs to win a fucking award, because I've never seen it executed so well as it was in this movie. I felt like I was genuinely watching some incredibly over-the-top action that I could keep up with without shaky cam or all of these cuts. It wasn't completely cut every single time something was happening. It was just smooth shots. You got to process everything, take it all in. So fucking fun. Plugging Moist Meter for Alita Battle Angel, giving this shit a nice 90. That's a lot higher than most of the limp dick critics are giving it. They're shitting on it for cliches, and, there are definitely flaws, and I talked about them a little bit, but yeah, it's a flawed movie in certain aspects, but I've never seen a movie like this that was as fun as this movie was. Also, the relationship between the main character and the love interest I thought was pretty decent. It wasn't like super developed, but it was cute. It was wholesome. So there's even little wholesome moments of filler in between some fucking neck-breaking, dick-popping action. Absolutely great movie. I cannot recommend this one enough. That's it. See ya.
Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at Brightburn. That's the evil Superman movie. I fucking love that concept. An evil Superman movie that's R-rated and ultra-violent and gory. And this movie really delivers on that front. This movie does not pull any punches. It's about child Superman becoming evil and just murdering anyone at all. Just becoming this cartoonishly evil character using his incredible godlike powers to just annihilate human beings. And when I say annihilate, I mean that in the most literal definition of that word. This kid does not hold back. There's a fucking scene where he causes a man to explode as if he just swallowed 10 drums of gasoline and then stuck a match up his asshole. It's just this huge, bloody, gory explosion, skin, guts, intestines flying all over the place. And there's just so many of these, like, unnerving, gory moments. Gore, I think, is sometimes just overused as a crutch for a horror movie where it's just supposed to be, like, the shock. You know, there's always, like, the eye scene, and this is guilty of that trope as well. But in this movie, there actually is some unique plays with gore and showing you really gross things. And I didn't expect that because the lead is a kid. It's child Superman, but evil child Superman. His costume makes him look like Quail Man from Doug. It's a goofy costume, but it works pretty well. My biggest complaint about the movie is that the horror aspects of it don't really work. Its jump scares are predictable, not effective, and it doesn't build tension very well. The movie's at its best when it's just showing this kid toying with his victims and then killing them. The story isn't that great either. There's not a whole lot of depth to any of the characters except for the parents. The parents do a great job. I think they were strong characters, but the kid has really no development or anything at all. He's just a very two-dimensional character. One second he's a normal kid who, just standard human being, and the next second he's an evil superpowered guy because he had a dream where he was super powerful and now he wants to take over the world. And there's really no development, there's no conflict, there's never a battle within himself like, hey, I used to be a kid that loved his parents, now I'm evil, maybe I should think about this. There's never any of that until the end of the movie. He has a moment of self-reflection, but it's kind of shitty and ham-fisted because throughout the entire movie, they showed none of that. He didn't do anything that even resembled doing something good. It was all just the most evil path he could have taken. So I think it was a little silly to try and all of a sudden at the end reel it back and make it seem like, hey, he's still just a kid trying to figure himself out. No, you've established he is just straight evil in all possible ways. You made that really fucking clear when he started murdering people who gave him a Jolly Rancher flavor he didn't care for. The kid just kills anyone and everyone for no reason at all. There's like a fucking phase montage of him just causing devastation across the world for no reason. Collapsing entire shopping centers because they were sold out of Yu-Gi-Oh packs. He just kills everyone and anyone. There was never a moment throughout this movie where he struggled with what's good and what's evil. He committed to just being evil. So I thought it was silly that at the end they'd try and make it like, oh, maybe he's good. Because it just didn't work at all. And that's not a huge complaint because I don't think this movie really relies so much on its story or its narrative. It relies on its concept and its execution in showing you just how devastating it could be if Superman was a bad guy. And I think it's a really fun thing they explored, and I'm excited to see more from Brightburn universe. If there is more, it'd be really nice. So let's plug this shit into the Moist Meter. I'm giving Brightburn a 70%. I wish the narrative was better. I wish it told a better story. However, I think it did just enough. It gave you the premise and it showed you a lot of cool shit about him becoming the ultimate evil. And it was really a refreshing spin on superheroes. It was a really disturbing look at it, and I really appreciated the risk they took, and I enjoyed it for the most part. I really think they missed the mark with their horror elements. It was just really generic in that regard, but everything else it did well. A lot of things will definitely catch people off guard in terms of its gore and how the kid does his shit. It's just a very interesting movie that was executed well. I have a lot of respect for this. It was a good movie. That's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
Godzilla King of Monsters is more like Godzilla King of Raves. There's more flashing lights in this movie than any club or any fucking music festival I've ever been to. It's fucking nuts. Every scene has like 1,000 different jump cuts, as well as just incredibly blinding flashing lights. I got a quick fart. That was the sound of my disappointment with this movie. Now, that's my biggest complaint, is sometimes it is actually painful to watch what's happening on the screen. Anytime King Ghidorah has an action scene, you're better off just closing your fucking eyes. It would be less disorienting to stick my face in an active police siren than suffer through some of the scenes here. The lightning is actually blinding. I don't know, maybe it was the movie theater I went to, something was wrong with the screen, it was just making it intense, and it wasn't just me. Tiana was recoiling in her chair. She was like fucking audibly groaning anytime that happened, and she was turning her head away. The people next to me were covering their eyes during some of the scenes because it was that bad. It is actually painful to watch some of the scenes in this movie, and I've never experienced that before. Something to set up a bunch of monsters fighting and then show me the monsters fighting. That's all you needed to do. But they bog it down with these dumb plot lines and narrative choices, and the characters' choices don't make any sense, and none of the characters just work. It's just... They just shouldn't have bothered with the story, honestly. It should have just been like a Apex Legends. There's no story. Here's just what you want. Just good gameplay. In this case, good monster characters wrapped around something that makes you close your eyes half the time because it hurts. And that's why it's just not a good movie. That's it. So yeah.
Initiating moisture.
I wasn't expecting much from Crawl, and the interest in this movie is about as low as it can get. There's more interest in getting a fucking ingrown toenail than there is going to see this movie, and that's actually a shame because the movie's pretty damn good. I was really surprised. So the movie's about a girl who goes to get her father during a Category 5 hurricane because she's worried about him. Turns out he's being hunted by alligators in his home. It takes place in Florida, as you would expect with alligators, and it uses our biggest and best feature, the alligator. Finally, it's about time that our superstar gets his time in the limelight. The alligator is what Florida's known for, albeit I think it's kind of blown out of proportion. I personally don't see a whole lot of alligators. I don't battle them, I don't fist fight them going to the store or anything. But I couldn't help but pump my fist in celebration seeing him on the big screen. And I'm really happy to say that the movie is pretty good. I didn't expect anything again. I really thought this was just going to be a stinker that I'd forget. But I liked it. It does everything that it wanted to do. It does it well. It does jump scares, but it's not a horror movie. It's more of just like a monster movie, a monster escape movie. The dad was like this unbroken Terminator who just didn't feel pain. His nerve endings were seared off and just couldn't feel anything because he was getting the shit gnawed out of him like he got bit 1,000 times by alligators. He was a fucking pincushion for their teeth. And he didn't really like, he screamed a little bit, but then he like forgot about it. He's like, oh yeah, that's right. I don't feel it anymore. It's just all of a sudden he was this like super tough guy, and I guess adrenaline and all that, but I never really got the feeling that that was even a human being. It was more of just like a machine pretending to be human sometimes when it got bit. Still a good character. That's not like a big deal. He was a cool character, but you know, as far as acting like you're getting attacked by alligators goes, his performance was kind of weak, or just saying like, ooh. But overall, they didn't make the stupidest choices. There's a couple of plot holes, and I feel like there was a couple of ways they could have escaped much earlier on in the movie that they just didn't bother even trying. But that's just, you know, you gotta suspend your disbelief for something like this in that regard. Overall, though, I was really invested in the characters. I didn't think they were the strongest characters, but it was enough to make me root for them and make me want to see them get that fat victory royale against the alligators. It's just a good movie. I wasn't expecting to care about it. I thought it was going to be a shit show.